Corks is it keeps your treble hook off. There we go. What are the odds of that happening? Hey guys, this is Iain Tesney from CJ's Bait. Today we'll be doing some catfishing, catching channels, hopefully some blues, you never know. And we are using CJ's monster bait with these new fancy floats here that are really fantastic. I'm going to show you how to use them, how to set them up, and show you how to catch fish. A little bit oily today, and how you can get it from being a little bit oily. You can pour that oil out, and you put a little bit of cornstarch in there and mix up that cornstarch so it's not as liquidy. You can kind of see through there that it's liquidy. That's okay. I like it a little bit, but not too runny. It'll still stay on real good. And that's the good stuff right there. I didn't even have to touch it with my hands. My hands don't even stink, just smell like fish. That's no big deal. At least I don't have to deal with the smell on my hands, which is really nice. Just throw it out there. And we're not throwing it out there very far today. They're real close this time of year. They're coming shallow to spawn. Today I'm using CJ's new fancy float. I really enjoy this new one that they came out with. It's a little bit different from the original one. The other one, this one only has one eyelet, so it's attached by one eyelet. Whereas the other ones that they have, the original one has the second one up here. I like this one because it's a little bit more sensitive in my personal opinion. Well, just got this little catfish here. He wasn't real far off the bank. He was only probably about 3 feet deep, maybe 2 feet from the bank. He was just off this little point here, and very shallow. They're pretty shallow right now because it's in the late springtime, and they're in the spawning mode, so they're moving up close. And a lot of people oftentimes overfish these guys, you know, using a slip cork or not using a slip cork, I'm sorry, using a Santee rig or a Carolina rig. They often overfish them, so they'll throw out real deep and thinking that these catfish are way out there. Well, in reality, they're actually really shallow and really close to the bank this time of the year. There we go. Fish on. Looks like we found a decent spot here. If I can just not break my ankle. There we go. Looks like it's another channel. Cheers, yeah. There we go. Not a bad size. Another pan size. Perfect eating size. Sure is a beautiful day out here. Catching fish. Nice and sunny. Today I'm using CJ's monster bait. It's one of my favorites. They have a number of different baits that they have, and this is called a punch bait. What's really nice about punch bait is you don't have to get your hands in it, and you don't have to make your hands all nasty and gross like most of your catfish baits, whether it be stink bait or even cut bait. You can cut your catfish up and whatnot and get it all over your hands. Well, this punch bait they've designed specifically so you don't have to touch it. And what's cool is you take your treble hook, put it in there, take a stick. You can find these just on the bank. That's what I did. And what you do is you just punch that treble hook down there. Kind of move it around a little bit, like that. And you can see I haven't touched it at all. You just punch it in there. And one thing that's really, really important, I think, is pulling at an angle. And it catches more of the bait. And you can put however much you want on there. I know some people put up a whole bunch. I'm kind of in the middle. I like a little bit. I don't like a lot because I don't like going through that stuff. But as you can see here, I've got a decent amount there, and that's really all you do. One thing that I really enjoy about these slip corks is it keeps your treble hook off. There we go. What are the odds of that happening? It keeps the treble hook off the bottom of the lake, and so you're not getting hung up here as much if you're using like a Santee rig or a Carolina rig or a slip sinker rig, and you can control the depth. That's one thing that's really, really important with these slip corks. And one thing I love is when you start catching them at a certain depth, you want to stay at that certain depth. So the slip cork allows you to do that with the slip knot and this cork going, you know, up and down. It's really, really nice that you can continue to keep it at the same depth consistently. And that's really nice. I catfished for a while and I didn't have very much luck with using the other styles until I came to slip corking. And I ran into a gentleman at Hefner, and he was using a slip cork method, and I had never seen that before. I think that's number 6. Anyways, they were using the slip cork method, and it was really interesting to me because they were using what I thought were really light poles, in my opinion, because I had a big catfish pole, big old honking thing, and they were using these real thin poles with these long slip cork tube things. I didn't know what they were at the time, and I was like, well, that's interesting. They're throwing it real far out. At the time they were, and they were catching these catfish, and I'm like, man, they're doing something right. So I approached the gentleman, which happened to be the owner of CJ's Bait Company. I didn't know it at the time, and I asked him, hey, what are you doing? Because I haven't caught anything. You've caught dozens. I know you're doing something right. So introduce me to these slip corks. This is the new one that they came out with just here recently. It's called the Fancy Cork. I like it a lot. It has one eyelid on the bottom. The other slip corks their original ones have another eyelet here, but I personally like the one with a single. The reason being is it's super, super sensitive. And since I've been introduced to using this style, I have not catfished any other way since learning this. And you can also fish for crappie doing this in the springtime. And you can do it in the wintertime as well, slip corking for crappie. So it's a very, very versatile rig. Alright, we hooked up into another one here. This one's not a bad size one. Doesn't feel like it. Hopefully, I think this one's fat hooked like the last one. That's okay. Might need the net. This guy's a fighter. He's got a big heart. Get that in the head. I have to stand up. No. And that's all on the fancy floats today. That's where it's been quite the difference. There was a gentleman out here fishing earlier. He said he hooked up into maybe 1 or 2 catfish. He's using that slip sinker style and could never catch him. Yet here we are using the fancy float, catching good sized catfish. That's why I believe these fancy floats are so awesome, just because they produce fish. That's a good sized one there. That's not bad at all. How do you complain about that? Sure does beat work, I can tell you that. And it's a beautiful day out here on Lake Arcadia, catching channel cats. Hadn't got a blue, but these channel cats are good eating here. Can't complain there. Good sized fillet. Alright, I'm not sure what number we got now. Well, we got ourselves another one on these fancy floats here. And it's 10 o'clock in the morning. We're still catching fish. We're using the CJ's Monster Bait with their new fancy floats. They've been producing very well this morning. Oh boy. Need a little more. There we are. So, it's not a bad size. Good eating size. I always like the smaller ones when eaten. They taste a little bit better in my opinion. Not too bad. Not too bad. He about took my pole in the water. There you go. There we go. There's this side one. There you go. I don't know what number this is. I lost track. That was a good size one there. Come here, honey. Alright. Oh! Broke off. That's okay. I can tie on another one. And that's all on CJ's slip corks. Not sure where it went. That's okay. That's CJ's fancy float. Good sized cat. Channel. Likes barking. Sure does like barking, doesn't he? Pretty looking fish. Can't complain. Like I said, I don't remember which number this is, but we've been catching them all morning long here at Arcadia. Looks like it's about 11:30 in the morning still, and we're still catching them. And what's cool is, you know, a lot of people leave the lake, you know, pretty early in the morning, but here we are. It's almost midday. We're still catching fish using slip corks with these fancy floats, and it's producing fish still yet in the middle of the day. It's hard to beat these fancy floats. You can't go wrong with them. Like I said, you can pick them up at cjsbait.com. They will ship them to you and get to using them. You can use this video. There's a number of different videos there on YouTube that you can subscribe to as well, and check them out. There's a lot of information on there to use for catfishing. Like I said, cjsbait.com is where you get your fancy floats. Also, check out the YouTube channel, CJ's Bait. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how exactly we do this setup. It's not very difficult at all, and you can get these little slip knots here with the bead, and you can get these at cjsbait.com as well. They sell them. It's a little specialized knot, makes things 10 times easier. So, and what's even cooler is it gives you a little bit of instructions on how to set it up, which is pretty cool. A little, very, very convenient. So, first I want to get a bead and a slip knot. Okay, so there's my slip knot, there's my bead. I set it aside, my bead aside for right now, and this is the first step in using a slip cork setup. This is the slip knot, and it's a hollow tube, right? What you do is you slide that on. If I can get it, there we go. Alright, slide that on, pull your line through, right? And it doesn't matter how long your tag end is, it's okay. And you take that tube off there, you grab a hold of the string pull that tube off. You discard the tube with the slip knot still there, and you see these two little strands here. You pull these tight. Then you take the bead, feed it through. Got that ready to go. Then you take your slip cork, take your eye. These are the fancy floats. You run it through the eye just once. Pull that too. Your slip knot there that you can get from cjsbait.com. Then you got your bead. Then you've got your fancy float. You got your weight. You got your barrel swivel. Then you got your treble hook. Now you're set up for slip corking with the fancy float. And you can get all this stuff from cjsbait.com. And it's a tried and true method. As you can tell today, we got a mess of fish. Well guys, this is the mess we got today. A few with the new fancy float and using CJ's monster bait. Check them out at cjsbait.com and tune in for the next episode. Thanks guys, have a good one.